Okay, everybody, I think we'll get started. I know that we're gonna have some more folks streaming in. Usually the 5-minute rule and the 10-minute rule. Everybody's getting their coffee, kind of getting their morning started. So we just want to thank you for joining us for this disaster preparedness webinar focused on business resiliency. My name is Brian Van Hook. I'm Regional Director of the Florida Small Business Development Center at FIU. I'm here with Marina from Prospera as well, one of our partners on this workshop series. And I want to take a minute before I get started just to thank Miami Foundation and also the JP Morgan Chase Foundation. We are able to provide this workshop and also additional consulting and trainings because of a grant that we received from the Miami Foundation with funds from JP Morgan Chase Foundation. This is a joint project, a joint proposal that we've done with Prospera, where we're trying to basically serve additional businesses in the community and also improve collaboration among small business groups such as our groups. It's a really exciting project. We're really excited, and I'm really happy to work with a great partner such as Marina and her team. So I'm gonna talk a little bit more about that, the Building Prosperity Initiative in a minute, but I wanna turn it over to Marina so that she can talk about Prospera and also make any remarks on behalf of their team.
Thank you, Brian. Good morning, everyone. Very, very briefly, because Brian, as usual, spoke for our collaboration and for our team. Prospera, we are a community-based organization. Our mission is to help start, sustain, and grow small businesses to achieve community prosperity. What that means to you is we're here to help you every step of the way, to get you ready to do things right from the beginning so that you can anticipate first sustainability and then growth. We couldn't be more blessed by this collaboration because in addition to what we're going to be able to do for you, which is leverage our joint resources so that you have more of what we have to give, we're also learning how to use our collective resources on behalf of our community so that not only our clients and our organizations benefit. So welcome to the webinar. This is important information, and we're here after the webinar to also take questions and help get you to where you need to be in order to get what you need for your small business.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Marina. And usually when we do housekeeping, and it's an in-person workshop, so we're like, the bathrooms are here, basically, the food is in the back, the coffee's in the back, things like that. So for webinars, we do the housekeeping. Basically, what we're gonna ask you guys is, I did put in the chat, if you could just put kind of what's your business name, what's your industry, because that helps me in terms of understanding when I'm doing the presentation, kind of gearing it towards particular industries. But I would also encourage you, if you have any questions that come up as part of the presentation, please put it in the Q&A. We will respond to it live, or we can type you in an answer in the Q&A. So please use that feature. Also, at the end of the workshop or the webinar, Brianna is going to send you a link to a survey. Please fill out the survey because we want to know if this is good. I would say usually if you like my tie, I'm not wearing a tie today. But we want to get feedback in terms of this presentation and the content to make sure that we're meeting your needs. So please fill out that survey. And with that, the webinar is going to run approximately 40 minutes, and we're going to save enough time at the end for some questions and answers. Pretty much we're going to go over pandemic planning, because now you can't factor in disaster preparedness, disaster resilience without factoring in pandemic and COVID-19 planning. We're going to discuss basic steps you can take today, like right today. It's a rainy day outside too, so you shouldn't be out in the sun. You should be inside working on your business resilience. And then lastly, I am going to cover just very briefly a few of the disaster programs that pop up when we do have a hurricane, flooding, things like that. So I'm going to get into the presentation. Thanks to you guys that put some of your information in the chat. I see that we have landscaping, we have real estate closing, we have basically realty, medical equipment and supplies. I bet you guys are pretty busy right now. So just thank you for that. And then, like I said, if you do have any questions, please put the questions in the Q&A. And so with that, let's get in the presentation. And let me share my screen with you guys. Okay. All right, guys, so let's get into it. So as I mentioned, this is funded through grant funding by the Miami Foundation and JP Morgan Chase, JP Morgan Chase Foundation. This is a collaborative project between Prospera and SBDC at FIU. We're doing a number of joint disaster resilience webinars, and I'll show you some of the upcoming webinars at the end. And we're also coordinating in terms of providing additional assistance to the community. So I just want to thank them for the funding, for the opportunity, and just thank Myrna for everything that their team is doing as well.
Our pleasure.
A little bit about who is this guy talking to you? Why does he have any authority on this topic? My name is Brian Van Hook with SBDC at FIU, originally from Louisiana. Like most folks, love Miami. I've been a big fan of Miami since I was a kid. I'm really happy. I'm a Miami Heat fan since I was probably about 5 years old. So I'm really happy the Heat won last night. But basically, I am a certified business continuity professional. I have 15 years of disaster recovery and business continuity experience. You can see that photo that's up there. That's actually my cool photo that I show my kids. That's one for the BP oil spill, where we got to fly over and meet with some fishermen and shrimpers and things like that that were impacted by the BP oil spill. I've worked previously in the United States Senate, and I also have worked at Department of Commerce, and I worked on tornadoes. I worked on BP oil spill, Katrina, and then locally like Hurricane Irma, COVID-19, Zika, a lot of other disasters. In terms of SBDC, we have a really great team of business specialists that focus on growing your business. But obviously we can't help you grow your business if you're impacted by a hurricane, by basically, COVID-19. So we've all shifted into business recovery mode. So we have 16 specialists normally, and we've also added another 7 consultants to basically assist in terms of COVID-19. So we're here to help you out, just like Myrna and her team are here to help you as well. In terms of your business, building a resilient business is a lot of things. It's basically risk management, it's contingency planning, it's emergency preparedness, it's disaster recovery planning for your IT. Also, it's succession planning. A lot of businesses don't think about this. The owner is, been there for a long time. You're not worried about what's going to happen. You're not worried about key employees. And then, somebody gets hit by a bus or something happens, or hurricanes and things like that. You'll need to factor all those things in to building a resilient business. So if you want to build a resilient business, which I would assume you are because you're here today, you should seek out business analysts that can help you develop a comprehensive strategy. And that includes training materials, that includes business continuity plans, emergency preparedness plans, disaster recovery plans, but it doesn't have to be that complicated. It can be a checklist. It can basically be tabletop exercise, different things like that. So obviously in terms of disaster recovery, this is the normal process. We're out at a business recovery center. You see people like me up behind podiums, speaking behind microphones. Florida SBDC, we have a big mobile assistance center that we roll in to help with disaster applications. Obviously, we can't do any of that because of COVID right now. So I want to factor in COVID into your business continuity planning. First and foremost, for safety best practices for your business, we strongly encourage you to go to the CDC website. And I put up the website that's specifically for businesses there. And don't worry, you don't have to take feverish notes, because we will send you a PDF of this presentation after the webinar. And then also after a couple of days, Brianna will have the video posted to our YouTube page so that you guys can watch it again on your own time. Now, in terms of Miami-Dade County, the county mayor did announce some plans on May 18th. The plan is called the New Normal Plan. If you want to see the full plan and additional guidance, you should visit the link that's up there. It has the whole plan. The cool thing about that plan is that it is broken down by industries. So you can see specifically for your industry, what are the steps to reopen and then operate under COVID. Also, the county has a really good website for businesses that you can get up to date information, emergency orders, things like that. Also, I should know, depending on where you're located in Miami-Dade County, there are also cities that have additional guidance. So Miami, Miami Gardens, Hialeah, Miami Beach, Doral, Coral Gables, those are a number of them. There might be a couple more since I've done this slide. But I would encourage you, if you're in any of those cities, to check your website, to check the websites or check your city's website to see if they have any additional reopening guidance. Now, the reason why I say that is because for business continuity, that is like super helpful for you guys, because in the past when we would do pandemic planning, mostly for pandemic flu, we would have general CDC guidance or FEMA guidance or other things like that, but I wouldn't have local guidance. So we wouldn't know the rules of the road for local businesses if they were going to reopen. And you guys know during COVID-19, the biggest thing is what is the new normal? What is the operating procedures in this disaster? So what we encourage businesses to do is, obviously for COVID, you need to know, how to reopen and how to do it safely and how to protect your employees and your customers and everything like that. But for business continuity purposes, this is super helpful because you can download this information depending on your industry. And this is an example from the county. This is specific to retail, but it shows you basic steps you need to take to reopen. So for your continuity planning, you can basically take that out and copy and paste it and put it into your business continuity plan for what the county's guidance is. You also have state of Florida and other things like that. So I would strongly encourage you, a lot of people are paying attention to it now, file that away because that's going to be helpful for you, unfortunately, if we do have another pandemic or anything like that. In terms of general COVID business continuity planning, there's a number of websites. Basically, CDC is kind of the lead agency on that. They have really great information in terms of business continuity, in terms of checklists, things like that. I would also say the FEMA pandemic plan template is good, but it is a FEMA template. It's a little more detailed, a little more technical. But the reason why I like this is because it is a template. It's basically like copy and paste your name in here or copy and paste the different things. So for a lot of businesses, if you don't know where to start, it is a really good way to kind of get started. In terms of insurance, basically for COVID, you need to understand in general what you're covered for and what you're not covered for, but you need to be aware for pandemics and COVID that following 2003 SARS outbreak, they begin to exclude losses incurred by viruses or communicable diseases in most policies. So this is something you want to keep in mind when you're shopping around for insurance or if you're considering additional policies to purchase, because if it's a big deal for you and you do have the wherewithal to pay for it, that is something you can get. Most small businesses can't afford it, but it is something you should factor in. Also, as I said previously, you now have to factor pandemic planning as part of your business continuity planning. It's going to be the norm moving forward. So you need to basically give strong consideration to strengthening e-commerce and also your direct-to-consumer sales. That's good in general, just making your business competitive, but it's also going to set you up in case we do have another pandemic down the road. And we just always reiterate that businesses that have these sales channels in place, those are the businesses that saw their sales skyrocket. While traditional bricks and mortar businesses that were waiting for people to come in person, they were basically struggling and still are struggling in a lot. Also, in terms of your marketing strategies, you need to make sure you don't have a one-size-fits-all marketing strategy because you operate in different localities and different areas, and there might be different restrictions depending on the number of cases. So you want to ensure that your marketing strategy is agile. You want to avoid additional costs and delays. An example is like if you have a bunch of ads showing customers in your business. People could kind of understand, but they want to see where there's people with masks, there's protection, PPE, things like that. Also now a lot of the marketing that's going out, it is more empathetic. It is more about kind of brand awareness, less on selling. So those are things that you need to factor in when you're basically coming up with a marketing strategy. Now that I've covered COVID, let's just get into basic disaster preparedness. So I always put up this slide because this shows you kind of like the major disasters timeline going back to 1992. And you'll see a trend that basically every 3 years, there's something big. So I don't want to be alarmist. I don't want to freak you guys out. But basically every 3 years around the country, there is some type of big disaster. And even if it doesn't hit us in Miami-Dade County or in the Keys or in Broward, it still impacts your supply chain. So you need to factor that into your business continuity planning. And you can see just for Miami, we've had COVID-19, we've had Zika, we've had Irma, we've had other things like that. So you want to factor that in because everybody always says, disaster is not going to happen to me. You know, a hurricane's not going to happen to me. And then when it does, you know, it really impacts your business. So this is what most people think about when they think about a disaster. This is the lower ninth ward. This is Hurricane Katrina, you know, massive hurricane. But for a lot of small businesses, this is a business killer. This is road construction. And we live in Miami-Dade County. There's road construction all the time. As soon as they finish building a road, they're working on the road. So depending on if you're retail, if you're restaurant, you know, if you have a storefront, those type of things can basically interrupt your business and could impact your bottom line. So you want to factor it in. It could be things big or small to impact your business. As we noted, basically man-made disasters impact businesses. You also have natural disasters, but it could be something as simple as a power outage, road construction, flooding. We had big flooding in May of this year, and actually the SBA just opened disaster loans for those businesses, physical damage and economic injury, and that was from like previous in May. So you do have basically things that can impact your daily operations and hurt your business. So now that I've kind of sufficiently given you situational awareness, hopefully I didn't scare you too much. I want to give you what can you do today to make your business more resilient. So the first thing you need to do is you need to do kind of like a situational review. You know your business better than me. Myrna and I, we know a lot of stuff, but we don't know your business as well as you do. So for you know your business, you know your employees, you know your location. You need to do a basic risk assessment. Basically, what risks are more likely to threaten your business? You're not going to be hit by a volcano. I would say pandemic previously, but you know now we're dealing with the pandemic. But you're not going to be hit by a snowstorm in Miami. You're not going to get hit by a volcano. You can mark those out. There are other things you need to factor in. Cyber attacks. You need to factor in theft. You need to factor in different things depending on your business. Also, a very good way for small businesses to kind of like look for holes in their planning is to do a tabletop exercise. And I'll get into that a little bit later on. But those are ways that you can test your team and your response to specific risks. You also need to do a visual inspection of your business. Basically look in the ceiling for cracks, look in the look for leaks, look at your equipment, your furniture, things like that. You basically want to think about what can I do today to better prepare my business for something that might happen tomorrow. Don't wait until the hurricane is like right on our doorstep. Do a basic walkthrough. In terms of your business and business continuity planning, you want to think about what makes your business run. Who makes your business run? What makes your business run? Where does it run? How does it run? What is a critical operation? What is an important function? What is non-essential? Because I guarantee you, when COVID-19 happened, everything non-essential went out the door. You basically focused on what's critical, what's important in terms of your operations. You want to think for those functions, for those operations, how long can you withstand an interruption to those? Is it 24 hours? Is it 48 hours? For some of us, for COVID-19, it's been 3 months, 4 months. So you want to think basically in terms of your critical functions and basically what is a recovery time objective, RTO. And you can basically break that down into those particular areas. So you want to basically think through those type of functions for your business. In terms of insurance, a lot of businesses say, I don't need to worry about business continuity planning because I have insurance. But I'm here to tell you that insurance doesn't replace your lost customers and it doesn't cover all your losses. Like those commercials, you think you're covered for this, but you're actually covered for that. And also many businesses, they don't shop around. They really like their insurance agent. They don't want to fool with it. It's like for a lot of folks, they don't want to do a disaster preparedness webinar. Thanks to you guys, you're here. But basically a lot of businesses don't want to think about that. Basically, you should shop around for insurance, and you should also take advantage of free risk assessments from your insurance company. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. They can basically be a third party to look at your business and say, have you thought about this or have you thought about that? You also want to talk about your fellow business owners. We talk to other business owners. What is their experience? Did they have losses included or excluded under different policies? You want to know that. Also, who's their insurance agency? Do they like them? Are they good? Did they help them out? In terms of business recovery, you also want to factor in your personal recovery. You need to find a balance between your personal business preparations, your personal preparations and your business preparations, because you can't get back to work if you're worried about your home, your childcare, your relatives, your pets. We're seeing that in COVID-19. Childcare is a big impact, notwithstanding COVID conditions in terms of getting employees back in the office. You want to talk with your family and you want to talk with your team about their disaster plans. You want to set specific deadlines on when key items can be completed by, but I always stress, do not overcomplicate it. Focus on 3 to 4 key actions and basically complete them within a defined time frame. So focus on 3 or 4. Once you do those, move on to the next 3 or 4. And a good thing that I always mention is business continuity can actually be good for your business. It could give you a leg up because if your competitors are out of business and you're open, you're going to be, getting a leg up on them. So basically any significant delays that you have, they can result in a loss of your customer to a competitor. But also nowadays, everybody's interconnected. Just because you're a small business in the city of Miami doesn't mean you're not in the supply chain of a larger business. Obviously, if you're a federal contractor, if you're a state contractor, local contractor, you're in their supply chain as well. So if you're basically contracting or you're in the supply chain of larger businesses or government, they need to know that you're preparedness, that you're prepared because you're in their supply chain, you can impact their operations. In terms of your supply chain, you basically want to think about it. You want to think obviously upstream in terms of your suppliers. You want to think about you and your employees, and then you want to think downstream about your customers. In terms of suppliers and contractors, you want to maintain current vendor information. You want to have primary alternate contacts. It's very basic, but have your account numbers because sometimes it's a lot tougher to figure it out if you don't have your account numbers on hand. You want to ask, do they have a continuity plan? If they don't have a continuity plan, that might be a red flag because that can impact your business. If they're out of business, if they're shut down for a while. So that's why you also want to have alternate suppliers. And a lot of times businesses have been in business for a long time. So you know other people in that industry that you can work with. Also, you want to basically have geographic diversity. So if you have a number of suppliers, maybe you don't have them all in the same area. So if a hurricane hits Georgia, you're not out of business. You might have somebody in Texas or somewhere else you can get orders from. Also, you want to place periodic orders so that you have an active status with that supplier. In terms of your businesses, in terms of your particular business, I always say your front line is your bottom line. If you don't have your employees, you can't open back up. So you always want to maintain current employee contact information. For most businesses, you just get that when you hire somebody, but people get married. Unfortunately, they get divorced, they move, they change their email address, they get a fancy new phone with a new phone number. So you want to have up-to-date emergency contacts. You want to update that at least every 6 months, but you can do things like when hurricane season's coming, update it for hurricane season, things like that. You want to identify any special skills among your team, any certifications. Are they a certified business continuity professional? Do they have CPR training? Or do they have military training, first aid? Those things could come in handy if you have an emergency situation. As we stressed, also work with your employees on personal disaster plans. It could be as basic as, are you going to evacuate if we have a hurricane? Or are you going to shelter in place? If you're going to evacuate, where are you going to go? Oh, you're going to go to Orlando. You're going to stay with your family. What's the phone number there? Who's the contact? So you can get in touch and do a check down of your employees to make sure everybody's okay. You also want them to factor in childcare, pets, elderly relatives, because some people might shelter in place because they're worried about those particular situations. In terms of your business, obviously for a lot of businesses right now, you might not have customers in your business, but you do need to factor customers into your continuity planning. You basically want to know, is it likely that there would be customers if you had a disaster happen? You want to keep open your communications with customers. Obviously your phone, your email, your website, social media. You want to update your website to let them know about your business status, any changes in your communication. Also monitor the internet and social media and track any trending stories. If it's of interest to you, it's probably of interest to your customers as well. You want to keep a copy of your customer records off-site or in the cloud. You don't want to have a physical list of them in your business. Nowadays, most businesses don't have that, but I have to say it to be prepared. You also obviously want to have an alternate work site to communicate with customers during recovery. Right now, I think a lot of us do have an alternate work site. It's our house, or another site. So I think that has been an upside for COVID, is a lot of businesses have actually got alternate work sites or working remotely and got the operations down. In terms of customers, you also don't forget gift cards. A lot of businesses that had gift cards in place were the businesses that were able to get those sales coming in while things were shut down. And it's also good to reach out to longtime customers if they want to support your business. The only thing I always stress about gift cards is it does take a little work to set up that program. So it's not something you can do on the fly. So it is good in terms of your preparedness to get that ready before hurricane season, before pandemics, things like that. But the good thing is it puts immediate cash into your business, and also it can be used online or in person later when conditions improve, but you get that money into your account. It's also a good way to stress, buy local, shop small, to support businesses facing uncertainty with reopening or in a hurricane and things like that. In terms of takeout orders and delivery services, for COVID, I have to mention that, but it's also good for business continuity planning. Most restaurants and grocery stores, they're heavily focused now on delivery services for that loss of in-store traffic. When you're revising your marketing in regards to COVID or other disasters, you want to consider offering a discount for takeout orders if you're a restaurant, or for first-time users that are ordering delivery. So restaurants, grocery, things like that. And then also, depending on your location, you can make it easier for takeout orders by offering curbside pickup. So I think most of the businesses that are able to do that are already doing it. But here's a quick rundown just in case you guys don't know. I know now everybody's an expert on delivery services, either because of their business or because they're hungry and they want lunch. But I would stress to you guys, when I get on there, and I just always say, practice what you preach. Support your local business. Like I live off of Bird Road, and I basically added all the locally owned small businesses that are up the road from me. And whenever I order, I try to order from them first to support those local businesses. A lot of other people are doing the same thing. So you want to advertise on your website which apps you're on so that people can search for you when you're on there. In terms of incorporating that into your business, you want to basically do your homework. You want to research how do deliveries work, how much in fees they charge, the speed that the deliveries are made, and then how or when you're going to receive your payments. Those are basic things you need to understand for your business. Also, for a lot of the delivery services, it's only 7 miles within the area of your location. So you want to factor that in as well to maximize how many people you're going to be able to reach. For a lot of restaurants, actually, a good innovation from COVID-19 has been some of the restaurants have partnered with bars because bars are shut down because they don't offer food. So actually a lot of restaurants are getting into the bar and running that location, and then they're actually able to offer delivery services within 7 miles of that bar. So they might have one kind of traditional location, but now they have 2 or 3 because they're partnering up with the bar to offer food service. So it's a pretty cool innovation for businesses. But you want to research.
Brian,
Yes,
if I
ma'am.
may,
Mhm.
I want to make sure that we get to jump in with a bit of information. I'm finding this very informative. I had not seen this presentation done by you all first, and there's just so much valuable information. I wanted to share that in Multicultural Miami, all of our businesses, almost without a doubt, have various languages spoken by their employees. So if you find that you can't get this information, any of it really, in Spanish, and that's spotty, or Creole, or whatever language you need, and that in terms of what's available is spotty. Some municipalities have translated on their links and websites, some have not, but I would recommend that you consider a small investment into having these things professionally translated once you've picked one in excuse me, in each of the categories, because that bit of service on behalf of your employees will have a multiplier effect with their ability to follow these things and to feel that you're paying attention to them and their needs, because that will get them back to where you need them to be a lot quicker. So consider that, and I didn't want us to go much further without making sure that we made that observation.
Yeah, and we do have a version of this presentation in Spanish. So Brianna will be providing it to the folks that ask for it. So if you prefer it in Spanish, just send Brianna a note and she can provide it to you later on. So thanks, Brianna. Thanks for that. Also, just want to encourage you guys to set up process and procedures on how to handle third-party delivery orders. Although they're delivering the orders, customers are going to hold you responsible for any errors, like if the soup is spilled all over the bag or anything like that, if it's not hot. So you want to make sure you factor in how are you going to basically get things ready for the third-party delivery folks before you set up those agreements. Let's get back into it. Also, you want to think about your contacts. The acronym is BAIL, basically bankers, accountants, insurance agents, and lawyers. So those are other people you need to be in touch with. Obviously, just identify any critical records that you need to run your business. Obviously, back it up, test it. You also want to have photographic records of your inventory, furnishings, fixtures, equipment. That's going to be important for SBA and insurance. They want to make sure whatever it is, it's not trashed. It wasn't trashed like pre-disaster. So they want photos to see something was in good shape prior to it so they can help you replace it after the disaster. These are just some additional critical operations. It runs the gamut from administrative, from insurance claims, external communications, accounts receivable. All of those are type of things that, depending on your business, would be critical operations. So you just need to factor that into your planning. Also, you want to think about any regulatory requirements. The easiest one is HIPAA. People that have to deal with it always say it is a 4-letter word, but HIPAA basically relates to any kind of personal health information. There is kind of like established protocols and procedures because you have to make sure it's confidential, there's integrity, there's available, but you can have serious fines if you get personal health information out there. So anybody that deals with healthcare organizations that have healthcare data, they have to basically have data security and also business continuity standards. That involves basic things like backing it up, business continuity plans, data restoration, also any kind of emergency operations planning. In terms of business continuity planning, don't procrastinate. Like I said, don't wait till the hurricane's like right on your door to get ready. You can conduct tabletop exercises. You want to involve key personnel in the organization. Anybody that's going to be responsible for responding, you want them involved so they know what's going on. They might actually even give you good feedback based on how things work in the real world. Obviously, get help from professionals such as Myrna's team and us. We can help you, also insurance agents and groups like that. Put stuff down on paper. Don't just have it in your head, because if you have a disaster, it's going to probably be the first thing to go out your head. And then you want to update your plan regularly and test it repeatedly, because no plan is bulletproof and it needs to be updated based on how things go in person. Also, make preparedness a core business value. Train your employees. Communicate with your vendors and your suppliers and your partners. Do they have any best practices, any ideas? An example for us is that, we don't, from SBDC, I don't claim that we know everything. I got information from the New Orleans SBDC because they've been through other disasters and they had good information I was able to incorporate. The same thing for your business. Find other people that have been through it and that can give you advice. And then adjust your plan accordingly and update it. So I mentioned a lot about business continuity and templates and things like that. We do have some templates that we can send you guys. We do have these in English and Spanish, but basically one is a tabletop exercise, one is basically a checklist, and then another one is 20 questions to ask your insurance agent. And I know the one on insurance is good because we actually got feedback from a client that the insurance agent was like, who gave this to you? Where'd you get this? So I think we were on the right track. But Brianna does have copies of this in English and Spanish, and so she'll send it to you after the presentation. Also, nowadays, everybody's got an app for something. We do have an app that we developed in partnership with the FIU Extreme Events Institute and also USAID. It's available in English and Spanish, and it's on the App Store and Google Play. It's called Disaster. Basically, it's free. You can basically just use it for customizable checklists. You can use it for disaster simulations, do a risk assessment. So it's helpful for folks to either use it on their phone or also to do it on an iPad or something like that. Although we're not territorial, there are other apps you can get. Ready Miami-Dade is a good one if you're in Miami-Dade County. There's also Alert Monroe if you're in the Keys. Obviously, Red Cross and FEMA are like kind of the gold standard. There's also some other ones you can get, like the Weather Channel has Storm Radar. Gas Buddy's really popular when we have hurricanes and there's like outages of gas. Hurricane Tracker, and also Emergency Radio. But I mentioned Brianna's going to send you the PDF so you can have this. In terms of other business resources for planning, there's obviously ready.gov from the federal government. There's the Florida Division of Emergency Management. They have a great website for businesses. And then SBA does have some resources on their website as well. And then depending on where your business is located, Miami-Dade County does have a hurricane guide, Monroe County has a hurricane guide, and then also the state of Florida has like a catch-all website, floridadisaster.biz. And then before I wrap up, I want to talk about money. I want to talk about basically disaster assistance. This is just to make you guys aware of what programs are going to roll out. So when we have a hurricane or any type of disaster, the state of Florida does roll out a business damage assessment survey. They reach out to groups like Myrna and us, and they ask us to promote it among our clients. It's not an application. You're not going to get money from it, but it does help the state of Florida to identify any disaster impacts and also target federal and state resources to impacted areas. So it is in your best interest to complete the survey because it helps them to get resources to our community. In terms of SBA, there are two types of disaster loans. A lot of people might get thrown off because for COVID, they only had economic injury disaster loans and they capped them at 150,000. But for a normal disaster, they do have two loans, basically physical damage. That's, as it said, to replace property, back to pre-disaster conditions. It's basically up to $2 million. It's basically a 3 to 4% loan up to 30-year loan term. They also have economic injury disaster loans, which everybody's familiar with after COVID, in terms of but this one is up to 2 million, and it's basically a working capital loan. So these are two programs. And actually, I kind of had a tear in my eye because SBA announced that they were offering physical damage and economic injury disaster loans for flooding in May. And I'm like, the old program, it came back. So basically, these are two programs that would come out. In groups like Prospera and SBDC, we can help you with your applications. As I mentioned, and the thing I would mention on the physical damage loans is you can use a portion of the proceeds towards mitigation. So up to 20% of your physical damage estimate, it can be used for mitigation. So you can definitely build back better in terms of using it for storm shutters, for elevation, things like that. They also do have the Florida Emergency Bridge Loan Program. I know a lot of folks had a bad experience for COVID. That program traditionally has worked very well, and it's basically a way to get some short-term working capital to businesses to help them until SBA or insurance comes in. But it's not a grant, it must be repaid. Basically, those traditional loans are basically between $1,000 and $50,000. They have made loans up to $100,000 in special circumstances, and it's either a 90-day or 180-day term. But that's through the state of Florida, and if the disaster happens, they will activate the website, and they'll kind of send folks to that website for more information. And then before I wrap up, I also want to just note that Prospera and SBDC, we do have 3 additional workshops coming up. We have a workshop in September that's with Prospera that's on kind of how to start a business in COVID. In October, SBDC has one on kind of a business reinvention kit. It's going to be a webinar in Spanish. And then also Prospera has an additional one in November that's on 10 marketing strategies to promote your business. So Myrna, did you have anything you want to mention on the 2 workshops on you guys' end?
Nothing other than we are hoping with this series to get to as many of the basic sort of issues that businesses need to prepare for, not only during COVID or disasters, but just good business practices. You're going to get a lot of information on things that you need to be focused on for business to sustain and hopefully grow during a challenging time, as obviously we're all predicting the next 24 to 36 months will be. So it's pretty comprehensive. If you're able to hit as many of these as possible, I think you'll come out with a good curriculum of actionable items for you to take that will make a significant difference in your business.
Thanks, Myrna. And if you guys are interested in these workshops, please email Brianna and she can get you the information on how to register for those additional workshops. And then I also did want to mention for SBDC, we do have a number of upcoming webinars coming up. I think it's 8 total. So basically, we have additional ones on Main Street lending, on HR, on taking your business virtual, step up your startup, government contracting. So we do have additional workshops and I would say webinars that are funded by Miami Foundation and JP Morgan Chase Foundation. So I want to encourage you guys also reach out to Brianna, and then also Myrna and Prospera. They have additional workshops that they're doing as well. So feel free to reach out and we'll get you guys connected for those upcoming webinars. And then lastly, I have our contact information. You're going to get this presentation, so you can get that. And then also I do have Prospera's contact information as well, if you want to get in touch with them. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing and I want to answer some questions. I hope I prompted you guys to come up with some good questions. So let's see. Oh, I just see somebody ask me where I'm from in Louisiana. So I grew up in Lafayette and I went to LSU. So I see somebody was there that they were in Lake Charles and they went to Tulane. So it's good to see Louisiana connections. Every time I wear LSU gear, even in Miami, I always see people say go Tigers. So that's pretty cool. But I'm trying to see if we have any additional questions.
We had one person that had her hand raised. I can see if she wants to
Sure.
ask a question.
If you don't have questions, that means my presentation was very thorough. It means
I was just going to say very comprehensive. That's usually what that means.
Yeah. Hi, Maureen. How are you? I think you're muted. Brandy, can you unmute her?
I'm selecting ask to unmute, but
Okay.
I need to confirm.
While you're muting Maureen, I was just going to mention we will send you copies of the tabletop exercises and checklists and questions to ask your insurance agent. I would encourage you guys to review those today and to see if there's anything that you can do it. Like I said, don't overthink it. Just think about maybe 2 to 3 steps that you can take today to kind of get you on that path to move forward. So don't try to do a full business continuity plan.
And a step might be to make a list of steps that you plan to take in this short and medium term. And I encourage you, scroll, once you find what plan you want to work with, make sure that it's available in as many languages as it possibly can be, or at least as many as reflect your employee makeup, because that's going to make a big difference in your ability to communicate these plans with your staffs.
Yeah. And I would say some of the templates I provided you guys, they do have different types of templates in Spanish and in English and things like that. And for our team, they can also help you. Like we've had businesses that did want a full business continuity plan. If you do want that, like I would love to do that for you, or somebody on our team would love to do it. But for most businesses, they say, look, I don't want to do a full business continuity plan. I just need a quick checklist I can use. I just need a risk assessment, things like that. And that's fine. For you guys, you need to figure what makes the most sense for your business. And so at the end of the day, you know, there's groups like Prospera and SBDC. We can help you kind of what you want. It's a sliding scale. If you want a full business continuity plan, if you just want a checklist, you know, we can help.
And I think, but there's some points like Brian mentioned that are critical to any plan that you attempt to put together. Remember bail, those are important initials for your business. And I think also the piece about making sure that your communication lines are fluid, that they're not blocked by details that are tougher to handle during any kind of a disaster, like language, like what communication tool are you going to use? Are you going to communicate via cell phones or websites or chats or apps? You know, all of those sort of not sexy operational issues are sometimes the definitive factor between your ability to do something well or not. So make sure that that the housekeeping piece is vigorous, regardless of how much you're trying to communicate. But those lines of communications it's critical that everybody be on the same page. It'll make a big difference once you're in the middle of a disaster.
Yeah, and the last thing I was going to mention, because I don't think Maureen had a question. Maybe she was just giving us a thumbs up. So that's good if she was. But I was going to mention to you guys, because I did see a number of people registered from the Miami-Dade County ESF 18 desk that they had sent our webinar out to that particular list. I see Jennifer from Tropical Shipping and a couple other folks on there. So shout out to them. But I was going to mention, you guys should definitely sign up for, depending on where your business is located, your emergency management offices. I know Miami Beach has a really good emergency management office. I know Miami Downtown Development Authority puts out really good information for their businesses. Obviously, Miami-Dade County has an ESF 18 desk that's focused on business and industry. Those are great resources of disaster specific information. So you should definitely register for those. And then you'll get the e-blasts and the alerts and things like that. And also each city has their own as well. And those are all obviously offered in a lot of different languages. But it's a way for you to get information and basically kind of be proactive, but it's also a way for you to look smart with your customers. You're basically getting really actionable information that you can share out with the community. So I would encourage you guys to do that today. Don't wait until a hurricane's coming or we have another situation to deal with. And with that, I just want to say thank you to everybody for participating. We had a really great number of participants for this particular topic. It's not sexy. It's not like how to get a loan, how to get a grant, but it is very important for your business, especially in light of COVID-19. And I just want to thank Myrna for her presentation and participation. She always has really good insights and good information. And with that, please fill out the survey that Brianna sent to you. We will be providing a copy of this presentation to you afterwards, along with some checklists. If you would prefer that we provide this in Spanish, please email Brianna because we can provide it, the checklist and tabletops in Spanish, but also a copy of this presentation in Spanish as well. And then lastly, this will be uploaded to our YouTube page. So if you missed anything or you want to see kind of the good information Myrna was given kind of in the middle, basically wait a couple days and it will be posted to our YouTube page as well. So with that, I just want to thank you guys, and I want to encourage you, please sign up for the additional webinars because we have really, if this information was good, it's going to be even better in the future webinars. So please sign up for those and we will help you get your business more resilient. So thanks guys, have a great week. Take care.